Okay, in this presentation, we're going to go over the cardiovascular arteries, the vessels that are systemic arteries. So all arteries are away from the heart, and because we're talking about systemic circulation, these will all be red because it indicates that they have oxygen. So as a reference point, this is the arch of the aorta, right? This is the aorta. Off of the aorta, there are three branches. The first one is the brachiocephalic trunk. That's B, because the arch of the aorta gives rise to the brachiocephalic, left common carotid, where my mouse is, and left subclavian. So I call that your basic life support off the aorta. It's not very easily seen on this model. However, you can see the first branch, brachiocephalic, is right here. The subclavian is that third branch right here. And your common carotid would be in the middle. We're going to go over that. So brachiocephalic, left common carotid, and left subclavian, if we were to label it that way. So this is a portion that is, I am not recalling at the moment if it's on our list or not, but it should be. So if it's not, kind of make note of it. But this is the start of the area that's going to branch off the carotids, go through each of the vertebrae, intervertebral foramen. Remember studying those in Anatomy 1. And no hole was by accident, unless it was a disease or something. But every hole had a purpose. Now we're learning the purpose. The purpose is for the vertebral artery to go through that intervertebral foramen. So you can see it really nice on this lateral view of the spine, but you can also see it on this image with the brain taken out. So I'm going to explain to you how to visualize what's going on here with an alien. Everybody see the alien? Got to hallucinate a bit, but it looks pretty much like an alien. This is known as the Circle of Willis. Like what you're talking about. Willis. You got that? Different strokes for different folks. Okay, so Circle of Willis. This is the alien. We're going to learn the parts of the alien. Here, the legs are the vertebral artery. I'm going to go back and show you what I mean. Here's the alien. Circle of Willis, the body, the legs. The legs are vertebral artery. The body, I want you to think of B for body, B for base. Basilar artery. Basilar artery. And for testing purposes, this is fair game and this guy's fair game. I'm scrolling through to show you parts of Circle of Willis, the entire one, and then we'll go back to what we just skipped through. So if we have vertebral artery, basilar artery, we can also see remnants of the internal carotid artery. So if this is the common carotid, it branches into external and internal. So if I were to follow this internal all the way to the base of the skull, I would see that as dumping into the Circle of Willis. So they're the stubs right here on either side. So what are these again? Vertebral arteries. What's this? basilar, and now we have internal carotid. So on top, so now we're getting the parts of the circle. The one closest to the front is known as the anterior cerebral artery. And what do you think the extensions are called? Middle cerebral artery. And can you guess what these would be called? Posterior, which also branch off into the guy's arms. Okay? So anterior, middle, and posterior is continuous here with the extensions. So now we know we know the whole alien. Of course, this is a condensed list, and you do not need to know every single branch off this list, okay? So now I'm going to go back to where we see some of the facial characteristics off of the common carotid. So this is the common carotid because now I'm talking about the second branch off of the aorta, the left side, but the right side comes off of the brachiocephalic. And why that is because the heart sits towards the left side. So it's almost like I needed another extension for getting there. So it doesn't directly come off the aorta on the right side. Okay? And so now same thing, but what are these again? Vertebral arteries. So this one is the common carotid. This is external. And then what was this one? Internal. Awesome. So if we were to follow the the external further up, we would see a branch called the temporal or temporal artery. Remember the bone that you learned around the cranial bone? It was also called temporal. So lucky for us, a lot of these arteries are going to be named for landmarks in that same region. So that's the temporal artery. And the temporal artery is also known, as it branches off towards the lateral side of your skull, superficial temporal artery. And that's the one, if some people get angry or have an increase in blood pressure, it pops out. This one is facial, and it has multiple branches as well because it's going to supply all the musculature and tissue around the entire face. So that's internal carotid again, the rest of the Circle of Willis. And then that brings us to the shoulder and upper extremity.